that is a really big courgette slash marrow, but we haven't picked it because it's an heirloom variety, and we want to keep the seeds from it to plant next year. So anyway, that's that. How's everyone doing? It's a Sunday late morning, early afternoon, and I came down here to make a quick little video, have a chat to everyone. I'm not really going to show you what's going on the allotment. You know, there's loads going on. We've got all our winter squash starting to come out. We had our biggest harvest of the year yesterday, and when I say biggest, I mean in terms of variety more than anything. We just had so much. We had kohlrabi, carrots, greens, tomatoes, chilies, what else? Spring onions, kohlrabi, courgettes, just loads, and it's cool. You know, it's that time of the year now where you're getting a bigger variety in the harvest, just because, you know, everything's basically coming on. So anyway, today I wanted to speak about something that someone I follow on Instagram asked me, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen that new little feature that you can ask people questions. And the Instagram account is called Dorset Diary, so, you know, go check them out. They've got a really cool Instagram page. It's a couple that have moved from London down to Dorset, and they've got like a small piece of land, and you know, it's really cool. Go check them out. Anyway, so they asked me, you know, they've been following me on Instagram for a while, and they know that I want to become a market gardener one day. And they asked, what sort of vegetables do I see myself growing, or will I be growing on, you know, my little market farm? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hey, I'm going to try my hand at multitasking, so I'm going to water everything, try kill two birds with one stone as I speak to everyone. So yeah, so the question was, you know, what kind of things do I see myself growing, or what kind of vegetables do I want to grow on my market garden one day? And it's a really interesting question because it's quite difficult to answer, but there's so many things to take into consideration when choosing what to grow. So the first thing I've been thinking about when I eventually get this piece of land to sell vegetables and to grow stuff on is the economics of it and the financial side of it, because at the end of the day, you can be as, you know, idealistic as you want and have these great dreams, but if you can't make money, then the whole thing, the whole venture won't really be worth it. You know, it's important. You have to put money first in this situation, especially if it's going to be your living. And you know, so what does that mean when I say that I think about the money, or put money first? And basically, on a farm, especially on a small farm, you're not going to be growing stuff 12 months of the year. And you know, maybe you are, but in the winter months and on the shoulder seasons, you won't be growing a bigger variety or as much stuff, obviously, because the weather's not that great, especially here in the UK. You know, we don't have a seriously extended growing season. You know, our summers are quite variable, and everyone knows that, especially if you're here in the UK at the moment. You know, it's been really uncharacteristically hot and dry for us over here, so it's affected a lot of stuff on the allotments, and you know, and farms as well. Like, it's been oh, there's a bee on the camera. You know, there's been things on the BBC saying there's going to be a shortage of lettuce and courgettes and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm going off topic here. So what was I even saying? Yeah, so thinking about the vegetables you're going to grow in a short growing season, and the fact that you won't be growing stuff all the time. And if you're not growing stuff all the time, that basically means that you're not going to have anything to sell. And if you can't sell anything, you're not making money. And if you're not making money, you can't really support yourself. And so straight away, I've been thinking that, well, that means I'd want to grow crops that are relatively quick growing, that there definitely is a market for, and that are, you know, that are relatively profitable. So a good one to start off with, especially if you're starting a farm for the first year. Sorry, my arm's getting tired holding this camera. Would be salad greens. Everyone likes salad greens, or everyone, you know, most people eat salad. It's a relatively quick growing crop. There's a huge amount of variety that you can get. It's not just one type of lettuce. You know, there's loads and loads of different kinds. So you could really provide value to customers by having a really unique, great mix of salad vegetables. You know, the stuff that we've grown this year, we've grown sort of a mix of things, but the one that stood out the most to us is a Salanova, which unfortunately is a hybrid, which, you know, I'm not completely against because it's been a really good, reliable lettuce crop. But it's if you've watched my videos about real seeds, go take a look at that, and it speaks a bit about hybrid vegetables and seeds and that kind of thing. So yeah, so the Salanova has been really good, and it's not something you really see in the shops. So straight away you can provide that extra bit of value to someone that likes lettuce by providing something unique. The good thing about lettuce as well is it grows for most of the season. You know, in hotter climates you might have to give them extra water and provide shade, because if it gets too hot, you know, lettuce bolts quite easily. So that would be the first thing. Now I know, you know, salad greens are quite boring, but like I said earlier, at the heart of starting the farm would be to actually start making money straight away. And the good thing about lettuce, like I said, it grows really quickly. It's got a very long growing season, and you know, you can probably grow all the way up until sort of autumn. So straight away you've got a crop that will provide you a steady income throughout the entire year. Now, it's not to say that, you know, I'll have loads of customers straight away and I might not be able to sell all of them, but you've got that option of having something that can bring in money straight away. Okay, I actually stopped watering because as much as I tried to multitask, I was pretty useless at it. I was trying to concentrate too much on watering, and I think I was blabbering on. It's a good thing I can edit all that out. So anyway, I was speaking about vegetables, growing vegetables that have a multiple use in terms of where you can sell them. And what I mean by that is, so growing a vegetable that can be sold to the general public, so something that's in demand from just, you know, a general household or a family, as well as being able to sell to a restaurant, because a restaurant's demands or needs might be slightly different to what a family would need. And then also being able to sell at, you know, farmers markets or grocery stores as well. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but not everything you grow you could sell to all the same people. You know, so for example, something specialized like, what could you say? I don't know, like pumpkins, for example. I mean, I don't think I'd ever grow something like that because they take up a lot of space, and you know, growing on a small farm, it doesn't make economic sense to grow something like that. But you won't necessarily be able to sell pumpkins to a restaurant. You know, to the general public, yes, but restaurants, you know, they might do a pumpkin soup in a specialized restaurant, but it's something that you probably wouldn't be able to sell that easily. And, you know, likewise with courgettes, people buy courgettes, so, you know, families buy courgettes and you sell them in farmers markets. But again, it's not necessarily something you would sell to most restaurants. You might find Italian restaurants that use it in the cooking for certain recipes and certain dishes, but probably not as frequently. And I think initially the reason why that's important is it all comes again down to the financial side of things, being able to grow stuff that sells relatively quickly and easily in order to get your farm set up and going. So that's something else I'd consider. So another thing to consider when deciding what to grow, or what I've been thinking about as well, is the size of the land that I'm going to be able to have. And I've always said it's going to be a small piece of land, so in my mind it's going to be something like an acre or 2 acres. And bear in mind that on an acre farm, you're not going to be farming every single piece of land. So on 1 acre farm, you might only have a third or 2/3 being farmed, or half being farmed, and the rest is going to be things like walkways and, you know, post-harvest areas, you know, parking, whatever it may be. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have an acre piece of land, you're going to be farming exactly an acre. And the reason why it's important to keep that in mind is it comes back to the whole pumpkin thing. On a small piece of land, it's not economical to grow something that takes up a huge amount of space and gives a relatively low yield. So on one pumpkin plant, I mean, I've never grown pumpkin, but do you get like maybe 4 or 5 pumpkin, something like that? I don't know. I suppose it depends on the variety. But on an acre, you wouldn't be able to grow enough pumpkins to sell in order to make money. And even if you could grow enough, they take a long time to grow, and you can only sell them once. You know, they take at the end of the season, I think probably, you know, late summer. Is that when they come out? I don't know, I'm not 100% sure. But so in that way, it's not really sustainable unless you've got hundreds of acres and you specialize in growing pumpkins, you know. But it's certainly not on a small scale. It's not really worth it. So those are the main things I've sort of considered and been thinking about. And I kind of want to position myself in a market one day where I've got produce that is popular, that people want to buy, and you know, that makes sense because you want to be able to make money. But I also want to get people excited about vegetables. Everything's really standard: carrots, spuds, tomatoes. There's nothing really adventurous in stores. And again, you know, I suppose that comes down to the economics of it, that they want to sell things that make money and that people buy. But I just kind of feel that there is a market out there for unique stuff, things that are different, even if it's just different varieties. Like in the supermarkets, there's pretty much like one kind of courgette. I'm sure they're different types, but they all look the same. They're all kind of dark green, they're all about the same size. There's nothing really exciting about them. But there's loads of different kinds of courgettes out there. Like we're growing an Italian variety this year, and it's incredibly tasty, and it doesn't sort of, when you cook it, you know, I find just normal courgette sometimes get a bit soggy, whereas this variety stays really nice and firm and crispy, and that's amazing. You know, so like, why aren't those things in supermarkets? And I just think that if you provided a bit of value and some different sort of varieties, there will be people out there that would buy them. So initially, when I start a farm, I'd like to have quick growing crops that can sell really quickly. So like lettuce, you know, carrots. They're not the quickest growing crop, but they're quite popular. And you know, there's various varieties that you can sell to the general public, but then also to maybe, you know, slightly posher restaurants. So, you know, like yellow carrots, white carrots, purple carrots. If you grow them to a very small size, so you get baby carrots, they you know, chefs love that kind of thing. If you see these like Michelin star restaurants and posh restaurants, they've got like really baby carrots on the plate, and they like, oh, make them look all fancy, you know. So you've got a market by growing carrots. And so in my head, the way I would see it is, you'd have maybe 4 or 5 different varieties, or 2 varieties, or whatever it may be. And when you thin carrots out, if you kind of space them too closely together, you do get machines or planting seed planters that can get the spacing perfect. But if you had some really closely spaced carrots early on in the season, you could thin them out, and all those baby carrots could be sold to restaurants. And so you haven't really lost anything. And then a couple of weeks later or a month later, you would have bigger carrots that you could sell in farmers markets and to the general public. So you've kind of hit 2 birds with one stone, just with one crop. Another vegetable I'd really like to grow is tomatoes, and again, I'd probably want to do sort of the heirloom varieties or unique different kinds of tomatoes, not just red cherries or plum tomatoes, but you know, something different. And I think you could appeal again to the general public who would buy tomatoes even if they were slightly different, but you would also appeal to restaurants if you're growing some really awesome different varieties with different colors or different textures or tastes. You know, tomatoes can be sweet or acidic or a bit of both, or very acidic or very sweet. And when chefs are looking to design, or you know, their menus, they're often looking for, you know, seasonality and color and all that kind of thing. So again, there's another crop that you can sort of hit 2 marketplaces with. Some of the other vegetables would again just sort of start off being standard stuff like beetroot and radish. Radish is a really good one because it grows really quick. It's a very popular vegetable. It's in and out of the ground within 40 days, so it's something you could produce also from February until like August. You know, it's a very long producing crop. And you know, so I know I've been quite vague, but these are all the different principles and stuff I think about when, you know, what kind of vegetables I'd like to grow. And you know, some of the stuff we've grown in this allotment this year, like the calabrese, hasn't done too well. That's because of the heat mainly. But although it's a very popular vegetable, broccoli and calabrese, something you've got to bear in mind is it takes up, again, it's a lot of space. So if you have a very small farm, it might not be economical to sell something like that because it takes up a lot of space and it takes very long to grow. You know, it might just be the case that maybe I've got more land than that one day. Maybe I've got 5 or 6 acres, and it might start becoming more viable to do something like that. And something I haven't really touched on is like a vegetable box scheme, or a CSA, which is, I've mentioned that quite a few times before. It stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And in North America and Canada, how that often works is customers would instead of paying weekly or monthly for their vegetable boxes, they actually pay in advance for the entire season. And when I say season, it's normally done in weeks. So you get a vegetable box every week for 16 to 20 weeks. And the interesting thing about that idea is you get money straight off the bat at the beginning of the season, and it helps your farm get going straight away. So you've got money in the bank, you can buy your seeds, all your consumables like fertilizer and compost and that kind of stuff. The thing is with the CSA scheme or a box scheme, I think you'd have to have a fair amount of experience and really know what you're doing. Now, if I ever had to do a CSA scheme, there's a farm in America called, what are they called? Steadfast Farms, I think it is. You should go check their website and their Instagram page. I'll try to put some pictures, so you can see. But their vegetable boxes are absolutely inspiring. I love them. And this is when they kind of tie into what I was saying about offering unique sort of vegetables. So they don't just do vegetables, they do like cut flowers as well as an added extra, and they also do sort of pasture raised chicken eggs as an optional extra as well. But their vegetable boxes are beautiful. You don't get a huge amount, but you get really, really interesting varieties. Like I think on one of them they had like what was it, like Israeli cucumbers, which is something I've never heard of, and they had like mixed summer squash, and you don't get a lot of them. You get 3 different kinds of squash, really nice different varieties, and you get things like kohlrabi, and you don't get 10 or 15, you get 1 or 2, but they had a really, really nice mix of stuff. And the thing about that is I suppose it only caters to a very specific kind of client, because not everyone wants that kind of thing in their vegetable boxes. Spuds, potatoes, carrots, tomatoes, just general stuff. But there will be people out there that I really think that would like to have really unique vegetable boxes and try different things. And you could go as far as having basic recipes or how-tos and what you can do with those vegetables. And so you open up people to what's out there and what you can grow, not just the general stuff you find in the supermarkets. So, I haven't gone and listed every single vegetable that I want to grow, but I've given you an idea of the things I'm thinking about. It's going to, if in my head initially, it's going to be a mix of things. It'll be stuff that can generate money very quickly, because that's important when you're starting a business, getting sort of cash flow. Growing vegetables that are relatively popular and can be sold. So like I said, greens, tomatoes, spinach, carrots, things like that. And then on the flip side, also some interesting things, because as much as for me it's important to be able to generate money, I also want to keep an interest in it and have a passion for what I do. And in order to feed that passion, I would want to do really unique things, special vegetables that you don't just get everywhere. And by doing that, I would give myself maybe an edge. I'd be able to provide value to customers that you won't get from a big supermarket, and that's the way I'd hopefully be able to set myself apart. So that's it today. That's it for today, everyone. I know I waffled on a bit, and in all honesty, I am really, really tired. Had a bit of a late night last night with some friends, played a bit of poker at home, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a fair few beers and it's really warm, so I might have waffled on a bit, but I hope you guys found some value in that video. And if you have any questions, please ask them down below, because it makes it easier for me to create these videos. But it also, I don't always cover everything in every single video, so to be able to get feedback and questions from everyone makes it a whole bunch easier. And it kind of fleshes out the video, so hopefully other people might have the same questions, but they'll be able to see them in the comments, all that kind of thing. So that's it. Hope everyone has a good week and enjoys this hot weather, although it has been a bit of a pain with having to water everything. And we're lucky to have water on this allotment, but not many people, or not all allotment sites have access to water. So anyway, I'm gonna stop waffling now. I shall see you guys in a few weeks, next week or whenever I make another video. Yeah, see you soon.